Good
Hi.
morning. We're here for our weekly webinar on an open discussion on 360 images from TU Delft, and we're here with Arno Fricke, and I'll go ahead and pass it over to you.
All right. Okay. Hey, everybody. Well, everybody already knows me, I think. So I'm Arno. I'm the coordinator from the VR zone. We are at the Central Library of the TU Delft, where our lab is, where students can come by and teachers and researchers to work on XR kind of applications. So VR, AR, 360 stuff, or movies rendering. All that good stuff. So today it's all about the 360 experiences that we have made lately. So we started, I think, like 2 years or 3 years already ago with experimenting with 360 cameras. Jan Dauma at the New Media Center, he started actually with that project. He's not at the TU Delft working anymore. So last year, I went with him and worked also on the 360 stuff, um, creating all kinds of 360 videos and panoramas, and creating from that data or media, yeah, specific tours for education. Um, in the invitation, you saw a few links. Hopefully, you were able to watch a few of them so that you have a little bit of an idea what we've been doing. So we had the Erasmus that was together with the Erasmus in Rotterdam, the hospital. We created several modules to teach nurses teach them and show them specific situations, and then they had like questions we had in there. So that was actually new for us to have like a sort of a learning module incorporated in 360 video. So that was quite interesting. So just to say what we are actually using at the moment, we are using the camera from Insta Pro. We have an Insta Pro 2 camera, and we have the bigger one, the Titan. Yeah, that one is pretty expensive. It's it has capabilities to create like 11K of images, still photos, but also videos. Um, and just to explain a little bit about the process. We go out there to a specific scene, we record everything, and in the camera that we use, we have like 9 SD cards. So each camera uh, feeds the different SD cards, and eventually, when you're done, you get all the SD cards out of there, and you have to combine all that footage together. So first you have to copy everything to a computer. That takes a little bit of time, and then you have to stitch all the camera footage together so that you have one panorama or video that you can work on. Yeah, normally what we do, especially if there is a lot of dialogue going on, we have also a separate set of microphones with us, so we can record the educator or the actors with a good live feed or a good audio feed. So we have to place that in to program that we are using now is Premiere. Put the video footage in there. The problem is what we always have is computing power, because you have like 11K of data. You cannot go through and scrub through a video easily. So you have to create first off proxies. So you create actually a video that it has less resolution, so you can scrub through it, and then you place the audio under there and do all your editing stuff. And then from there, you export everything, and then we go to a program called 3D Vista, and that in that program we create the whole tour experience. There's a lot of stuff in there that's just like almost like click and play. And eventually, when you have created your tour, you can export it as a web page actually, and then upload it to the 360 web environment. Um, and then it's directly online and can be used by the public. So just to explain a little bit how the process is. Maybe we can discuss it further, what you have seen in the videos, and maybe you have questions for me. I think that's maybe the way to go. So I don't know how it normally goes. Yeah.
That sounds good. I added some of the links to the chat, so if you didn't have a chance to look at them, you can kind of glance at them now. Does anyone have any questions or comments who maybe looked at it already?
I would maybe give a recommendation. Arno, maybe quickly just open up one and just kind of point out for those. I've looked at them, so I can answer questions, but it might help.
I've
help
got
some of the others.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I've got a new one actually. So, am I able to share my screen somehow? Let me see.
Yeah, you should be able to up on the
right next to the leave button.
Oh, yeah.
There's a arrow in a block.
Okay. Let me see. This is actually our new one because of the Experience Week. We created a new tour for from the ESP lab at AVE. So are you seeing this good or? Yeah, is the feed okay? Okay, great. So what we now did was like for the alumni, they could go in this specific lab, and then we have like 3 speakers that they can watch, and they will explain their specific roles within the ESP lab. And of course, you can go through the tour and see all this magnificent hardware that they have. So that's really cool. So it was a little bit of a challenge, especially navigation-wise, because you can hop, of course, to different kinds of spaces, but they also wanted us to go to the first floor and show you a little bit about what's in there, what their lab environment would look at like in here. But eventually, you have to go back, and then you want to watch the speakers, of course. And we also added now also like a home button. So if you were lost somewhere, you always could go back. So simple stuff actually, but you have to really think about the user from make it easy as possible to look at. Well, let's see how this looks. So here we have Olindo. I'm not sure if you hear the audio, but
we don't hear the audio, but I don't think that's a big deal.
Okay.
This is the 360 video camera here. It almost actually looks like he's green screened in there somehow.
It's real footage. It's all real.
Yeah. It's just got to be the lighting then. It's
really flat, right? So
yeah.
Maybe the angle too.
Yeah, could be.
Could be.
I actually have a question, maybe to spark it off. So I understand the doing the 360 video, and then you can edit that video in Premiere, and you have to do all that kind of stuff. But before this, it was sort of this static environment with static images where you can jump from place to place.
Yeah.
And I see that you dropped in some assets and stuff in there.
Yeah.
What are you editing that in? Like how do you go about creating something like that?
Yeah, that's where the program 3D Vista kicks in. We use this program now for I think about 2 years now or so. They're still developing a lot of stuff. So at the beginning, it just was for tours, and they are implementing new stuff in there. So now they also have that learning module incorporated in their program. And that's how we did the whole Erasmus tour thing. So the cool thing with 3D Vista is, maybe I can show it actually. Let me see. Just start it up and you can see how it looks. So here is the virtual tour program. So normally you start with a new project, so you have to collect all your data, do it nice and tidy, so somebody else can work with it as well. So that's what we learned lately. We have everything in one folder, and then you can create like a new project. Let's say you're going to create something, so you can use specific skins, but you can also do that afterwards. So normally I just go in there and start editing stuff. So the third thing what 3D Vista wants to have is well, data, media stuff. So you can say, okay, I have already some panoramas, for example. Then you just click on your panoramas. But we have already stitched everything together, so we have our standard panoramas already available. And then you go to your 3D Vista project folder where you collect everything. So here we have our panoramas folder, and then you can just say, okay, I want to use this one, for example. Just open it up. And then from that point on, yeah, you can do a lot of things to your tour. So if you just start, it adds it to its carousel, and that means that everything what is being imported will be played automatically if you just start the tour. So if you now do a preview, for example, and then you will see the panorama kicking in. But eventually you want to say, no, I want to make, of course, a specific tour. And you want to be the director of when something has to be kicked off as a path.
No.
So yeah, what you can do is, well, here you have then your footage. So we're now working on panoramas. You just go to the tab of panoramas, and then you get a whole lot of option extra here. So if you click a specific panorama, you can say, okay, let's check the settings. You can choose your point of interest. So it starts directly here. So you said, okay, set view at initial point, just to show, and then it will start there. And you then just can add icons, so you can create your own icons or use the program icons that are already in there. You see it automatically rotates the image. So normally I turn that off.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got a lot of option there, and it's pretty easy actually to use. So
Okay.
just a basic view, because yeah, I can talk about this
And
for hours.
yeah. And I'm assuming this is something that maybe the VR lab has 1 or 2 license of. There's no sort of site license or anything for the university on this.
No, we have our own. Yeah, we have 2 licenses. Yeah, and it's on one of the systems at the VR lab. Yeah.
Then maybe one other quick question, and anybody else feel free to interrupt me because I can always hog a lot of time, but I just like to keep things going. So please turn your mic on and tell me to shut up if you want to ask your own question. But in terms of those 3D videos, what is, so you talked about it taking a bunch of time to render and all this type of stuff.
Yeah.
If I had a scenario, because I look at this and I see a scenario for sort of a virtual lab. So we would do a test in a lab that perhaps we would record the entire video. So it could be like the student was there, but then we post sort of videos. But if you were talking about saying doing that for 40 groups of students, would you see the workflow just be so overwhelming that it's probably not worth it? Like, what is kind of the processing time of recording something and being able to post it as something that could be viewed?
Well, for example, the ESP lab, we worked for it for okay, for data collection. So we have like 3 teachers that we have to create a video for of. That was like as a whole, I think, a day for recording stuff.
Yeah.
Beforehand, I think also a day of planning. Get everything ready, all the hardware that you have to take with you, make sure that everything is working. And you need somebody to create a script. So you have to know what it's about.
Yeah.
So that can take some time. If you just look at the process from building the app, so okay, we have the recording, then we have the whole data thing, and that takes, yeah, I say more or less a week to create and export and stitch all the data, render it out, and then do the edits, and then again render everything out, and then the Vista part is also like a day or 2, yeah, more or less. So
okay,
let's say a week and a half, you should be okay. Then you have enough time, and also to learn from it and make some mistakes because
Yeah, and I
those will
guess
be there.
you could potentially make an environment and then add stuff to it later.
Yeah,
Not to, because as a use case, we're always struggling with the fact that when we do tests in the lab with the students, we like them to be able to see the test, right? It's not just good to just give them the data, but it's a scheduling nightmare. So this could be an interesting thing that if you were able to set up, run their test with them not there, but they could basically put themselves in the place of the camera and watch the test and look around in whatever the way they wanted to sort of connect the data. That would be nice. But there's going to be that delay, right? That they might have to wait several days after a test before they could actually watch it. But okay. Good to know, because I think that's going to be I know in our faculty that's kind of a limiting point right now, is the throughput of people in facilities. So making it a virtual facility would be interesting.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Can we turn that question around? Arno, do you think, hi Arno, by the way.
Hey, Eddie.
Hi.
How you doing, man?
Is it a possibility in the nearby future that you would be able to do a live version of this?
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, the camera that we have should be able to do live.
Okay.
I didn't know. Maybe Michel knows? Did Jan already experimented with live feed? If you know.
No, he didn't.
Okay.
Didn't experiment with it yet, but it's possible.
It is possible, yeah.
With it, yes.
It will be less good stitch, right? So you will see the stitching lines where the camera comes together. So if somebody walks across a stitching line, you will see it wobble. You still see it in the video as well, but it's less because you do the whole rendering thing. I think it's maximum maybe 4K. So the output that we have at the moment online with the online stuff that we have, it's like 8K of data eventually.
But the scenario of a group of students being able to witness an experiment this way,
that would be really nice.
Is a feasible case?
Yeah. Let's say that we're going to test that out. I think it's a good idea, because also what Kelvin says, and then you turn it around. I like that.
One short question to Kelvin. I think that's maybe Michiel something point of interest.
Yeah, well, okay. I can even give you a use scenario. What we did last year, we had when things went to COVID, the students weren't able to come in and do their tests. So we had to record the data for them and had just a normal video, and we posted all of that up. It could be an interesting scenario that we make an environment that they can still walk into the lab, and then they could, if we could try doing it live, we could stream their test live, but also record it just as a backup. Then give them the data. I know Michiel would be very, he couldn't be here, but I'm updating him on a message about stuff that's going on here. He'd be very interested in doing that, because the scheduling of that is just an absolute nightmare.
Okay.
And in fact, he's got a problem that they shortened Q4 for next year, so it's an even bigger nightmare.
Okay, let me keep in contact then, and about the specific, do a pilot project or something.
Yeah.
See what we're able to do with this hardware. Yeah.
Stella, it looks like you have a question or comment.
Yes, hi. Thanks for the demonstration, looks great. I'm from Industrial Design Engineering.
Hi.
And hi, have you collaborated with Industrial Design Engineering yet?
Yeah, with a few people. Dickie Brandt. She has also a lot of things with VR, and she came also to our lab to talk about it and discuss options. Michel, I forgot her name. From the robotic labs, Doris, Aschenbrouwer.
Yes, Doris, Because I do a few projects that are kind of between industrial design and architecture. It's about houses, and I think, could I use it as an exhibition, so that I put the students' designs into a house that then people can walk around in it?
Yeah, you have to. There is a link in the link description of from the invitation. There is a project called Urban Energy.
Yeah.
That one has like PhD posters hanging in an exhibition, a virtual exhibition environment. So that's like a hybrid way to do 360. So we have like 360 panoramas taken in front of the aula in the street.
Yes.
And we created like a 3D environment, in this case in Rhino and Unreal, that we have rendered out also in 360, and then embedded that into the 360 tour. So you have something virtual and something real life combined. And but you just have to look at it. It will explain itself. And there is a video inside, so there is like a presenter. If you come in, and she will explain what's going on, and then you can go to the environment and look at all those posters.
Yeah, I'm actually the question of the boundaries between virtual reality and reality that is on video. I'm just thinking around that because, let's say, just to give you an example, let's say a student has made a design where a user would go up to it and open something, just as an example. Then, you know, I'm trying to think of the boundaries between video and virtual reality here, because so you could you have a imaginary house or a real video filmed house. You go inside of it, and there's an object that you want to interact with. What happens at that point? You know, you maybe So I could easily put a photo of the object in the place where it would be.
Yes. Yeah, so that's with the 360. Yeah, it's not like full flash immersing VR, so it's a little bit in between. So you have like let's call it PowerPoint on steroids in that sense. So you have things you can look at. So you could have videos, you could have 360 videos, you could have panoramas, you could just have images. But you can also have like there was also an exhibition in architecture that did something similar. Then you had all the student work, but they also had like a scale model of the building, and if you would click on that, you would go into that 3D environment, and it would be surrounding you, because there are renderers out there like Lumion and Enscape where you can create also a 360 panorama, and that we can then incorporate as well in the tour. So also the students can also deliver their media content, and we can then add that. So in that sense, then you have different kinds of degrees at looking stuff at stuff. So
yeah. So because the Urban Energy, there was one of the links where you have a photo of the campus and you have an Urban Energy pavilion type thing in it. So that's obviously generated and you can move around it. But there you could not make it video. That would make it too complicated, right?
Well, you can make like a 360 walkthrough also in renderers, and then the path is so if you have VR goggles on and you are in the video, and in the video you are being displaced, you can get nauseated. If it's just from your desktop experience, you go through a 360 environment through a path, that's okay. So you have to take in mind what you want to do with it. So we have the capability of saying to the application, okay, it's also you can also download it for your Oculus Quest per se.
Okay.
But then you have to take into account these kinds of things.
Okay. Interesting. And really interesting. I'm thinking around it in terms of students' work and really nice presentation. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome, Stella. Yeah. Okay. Somebody else have a question or a comment?
Maybe one follow-up question. What would be the path if I wanted to do this? I send you a mail and I say, hey, can I do this? Or I mean, it relates to previous questions on how much time, how much budget does something take. I mean, for Colligerama, I have to put in an application. They come, and it's there's no bureaucracy around it. But let's say, what would be the practical path of collaboration if someone was interested in any?
Yeah, just make contact with the New Media Center, and then we can plan something and then talk about it and know what you need and what you want to use, and then we can say, okay, this is going to take so much time. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. just yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just mail us or call us. Yeah.
Stella, it's very easy indeed. If you contact the New Media Center, there will always be an intake talk with you. There are costs involved, but the costs are only equipment costs. No personal costs are calculated for TU Delft employees.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a
I do.
quick equipment question, if I may, Arno, since you've probably looked at it. So you looked at the Insta360 Pro 2. That's what you were using.
Yeah, and the Insta.
Which is the pro equipment. So if I start talking to people in my faculty here about this and get them excited, they're going to want to get their hands on some of equipment. So what would be the downside of going to the consumer grade level of their lineup? What would you lose?
Yeah, sharpness. In that sense, yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's if you look at the camera, yeah, it's especially the 11K. So the higher your data is beforehand, it always looks sharper when you go and downscale it to 8K. So that's the thing. At the moment, we use the Titan. That's the most expensive one. The Pro 2 it was defective, but it's now back. So we're gonna test again with that one as well. But if you're going to buy one, then I would say buy the Pro 2. Yeah.
Yeah, because I see like they have those 1X2s, which are still 6K from the 6K resolution.
Yeah.
I'm also thinking in terms of if you're using it for educational purposes in like making 40 recordings for different groups, at some level, the lower grade one becomes a saving grace in terms of just data.
Yeah, that's really the question. If it's enough, then it's enough. Right? So that's
they're pretty cheap. I might get one just to
fiddle around with it. Yeah,
just to know. Not? But I just thought you might have looked into it and might know some obvious. Like it's less cameras, so there's probably going to be some distortions or seams or something like that. But
yeah, that would be it. Yeah.
I'm kind of curious myself because it sounds like what I've seen are like the labs and particularly inside certain buildings and locations. Have you done much on the outside for the structures of some of the buildings, just so students who can't get to campus can actually see what building they normally would go to, or particularly for architecture groups, they can then look at the structures of all of the buildings on campus just to see the outside? Like, have you done much on the outside, or is it always more inside the buildings?
At this moment, it was more inside. There's also a project that was outside. That was, Misha knows that was the project from Jan, from the water main system.
Indeed, we made a tour of a water treatment plant in Wageningen, and that was the exterior and in.
Okay.
I don't know, is that your bathroom?
I just will close my microphone.
Okay. So we made a tour for civil engineering of a water treatment plant in 360. I don't know if it's in the link in the invitation. I have to have a look. Which was about the outside environment, but also the inside environment. Students normally went to the plant itself. There were more than 100 students each year visiting the water treatment plant, but the water treatment plant said, sorry, we cannot facilitate that anymore. So civil engineering searched for an alternative. And they thought this was an alternative, so they handed out all Google Cardboards to their students to experiment with this on a phone. There is a report written on it. I can share that with the group if I can find it quickly enough.
But I think Google Street View does that job pretty well as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but I was kind of curious to see what if anyone had done anything more specifically connecting the campus overall or what have you. Pim, did you have a question or comment?
Yeah, I was wondering. I've been listening to what could be the benefits of a 360 kind of thing, and what Eddie and Calvin were exploring, that scheduling tours, right? So if you have scheduling issues, having that in 360 makes a lot of sense. I also looked at the Erasmus video, and there I saw also an educational benefit, because I could zoom in to certain procedures that they were doing, which I thought can be an added benefit instead of having a video doing that, because you have more freedom. I also, and I think Zoe made a comment in the chat about it as well, you easily get lost. So there are some downsides as well. For example, the urban, the one where you placed the model outside of the TU Delft campus, the exhibition that we just talked about. When I walked in, immediately a video started playing and I felt like I had no control anymore. So you've seen quite a few 360 kind of things. What kind of educational benefits did you see as well, besides watching it closely by procedures that you could zoom into?
This is like a broad question for everybody, or?
Well, more for you, I think, Arno. So in Erasmus, I saw a clear educational benefit, right? Because you had questions related to the procedures. But did you have other examples where that educational benefit was emphasized?
Yeah, I want to say something about this, but there is a lot of stuff going on now through a microphone. Maybe can you elaborate, maybe, Michel, just for the time being?
We have made a various amount of 360 tours, and not all of them were from an educational perspective. So indeed, the clearest one was the one from the Erasmus Medical Center. And others were actually more like introductions to a lab or promotional tours of facilities. So we don't have a lot of experience in creating educational tours. But we hope that they will come, and an example that Calvin mentioned will be very great for us to experiment with, or to see what the benefits are of these kind of assignments. But momentarily, we do not have.
Yeah, Tim, maybe I can comment on that, because I've looked into it and I've been playing around with it in terms of my education fellowship, where I'm trying to make a digital interactive textbook. And this is where I sort of saw these sort of 360 type of things where there are things that the students could interact with, right? Like instead of just showing a video of an experiment, you could actually have like an environment, and they would actually have to literally click on something, and then it would trigger and interact. And there's a lot of interesting stuff you can do there. What the problem for my educational fellowship that I ran into is the portability of the digital document then, right? Like I was trying to create an ebook, and once you start getting into all these 360 videos, it's a huge amount. So then you have to rely on a companion website, and it creates, it kind of handcuffs this portable e-publication type of thing. But I see once some things can be worked out like that, it provides a really interesting thing of that the students can actually physically interact with something. And I've actually seen that over this past year with the remote teaching. We've seen that what the students have liked the most with stuff that has been online is when it's in smaller packets where they watch 5 minutes, then they do something. rather than watching sort of like a 1 hour recorded lecture. And I think that's where these sorts of things kind of come in. It provides a unique element for the students to be engaged, but also distracted. Distracted is also being distracted and then re-engaging is also quite important.
Yes,
sometimes.
I think that's the unique possibility of those tours, right? Because you allow them to be distracted within certain boundaries.
Yeah.
I was watching that 360 video, I think of one of the labs where they explained stuff, and I noticed myself moving, watching around. I see a lot of possibilities of having a sort of informal learning happening there as well, so that you place certain objects in a room so that they are triggered by it while there is a video playing. On the other hand, Calvin, I think those 360 tours, the 5-minute things seem to work really well in the remote and in the online environment.
Yeah.
Do you think a 360 tour is also a 5-minute thing, or is it a larger thing where you have 5 minutes of more dense content?
Well, I would sort of see it, if you call it like a tour, the whole thing wouldn't be 5 minutes, but anything that they were just sitting and watching actively without having to do anything, I would limit to sort of 5 minutes. So they might watch a 5-minute video.
I agree.
It also helps you give context. You know, and again, this is somewhat educational, but perhaps even more safety. Like I sort of think about, I would love to have a 360 tour thing set up of our lab, and then have next to each of the machines sort of a digital board with like safety procedures. If you haven't used this machine in a while, please click on this video and you can watch. And it gives context to it. Because oftentimes you can put that on a website, but they don't know where to look. But here they sort of enter in and they have that immediate context.
Yeah.
But I think like all digital tools, it requires us to connect and work with people who do the educational research, because I'm not an educational researcher. It has the danger of just being for show, right?
Yeah.
Putting things in videos doesn't necessarily make the video effective. And I've been teaching videos for a long time, and I can tell you I was nowhere near trained. I was trained to be a teacher. I was not trained to be a educational video creator.
Content
creator. And I would see the same thing would happen with this, right? I can dream up things. I have no idea how it would work. I probably would have to make a million mistakes.
It depends a little bit what you're doing, of course. What your background is. If you're in architecture or maybe museum type of studies, or maybe places you can't go, something like that, then this could be a big help.
I think it can be a huge help for many things, but it can also be window dressing for many things.
Oh yeah, sure.
Well, I don't know. In the past, we used to take groups of students to ESA, to Aztec, and currently we can't. And I think for the next 2 years, we still can't, because they're very strict on whatever you can do. And of course, students love to walk around there. So this could be a solution, but I don't know if they allow that.
I know
nice
that
actually to make a tour for ESA.
Well, I think aerospace students would love to see something from ESA in this type of fashion I saw, but could be a great thing, because I don't think we're going to be there in the next 12 months.
Actually, Arno, another thing, just if you want to pilot a project, one thing that's been a real challenge that a lot of students have missed out on this year in aerospace is we do a test flight. And they've tried to resume that. And we're trying to look at how do we schedule things in future years to allow the people who missed it to get back at it. But that would be like a great thing to just, be able to put the 360 degree camera on there, do a test flight, go through all that kind of stuff so that people could experience it. Cool. And then you can go out for a flight.
I'm gonna do that. I'm up for it.
Collecting flight data is one. What else?
Oh, well,
So
I think it's a nice pilot project to do. So yeah.
Well, there are a couple of museums, for instance, and you can't go there, and they're really very nice and have a lot of heritage. And
Yeah.
But it has to be, of course, relevant for what you teach or do.
Of course, yeah. Agreed.
yeah, so it also sounds like you're talking about what the images can offer, but like Pim mentioned, beyond that, and what Kelvin was mentioning, like maybe being able to supplement it with, how-to videos when they get to certain places. Similarly, though, it can also be the activities that they would do in those places, not just the videos of like how to do something. So it can be, the activity of like, what do you do when you get to this place? What do you need to do before you get here? And the steps that are included in that. So it sounds like there's other options that could be paired with these 360 images. What all comes to mind for some of you instructors when you think about the 360 images? What would you possibly pair with the image with your course for students?
Well, I have just the 360 images. If students are able to make their own 360 images, they can import it in the 3D environment of the CAD application we have. But that's just a very detailed technical possibility which they can use. But it would be quite nice that they could make their digital renderings using a 360 image from Arno, from a piece of the faculty or a different place where they cite their project. But that's just the 360 image, just that and nothing more. So I think that's relatively easy, isn't it, Arno?
Yeah, I guess no problem. That's quite easy to do. Yeah, to add that.
So
in a video, in a tour experience. Yeah. Especially with the CAD software that you are using should be possible as well.
Yeah. I think if you have a 360 HDR image, then basically you can implement it.
You can implement it. Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
In terms of importing it to 3D environment, the SLAM technology in HoloLens, like which maps the 3D environment around it using AR camera. I think the challenge there right now is to wrap the 2D video footage on the 3D model that the AR infrared camera captures. But that would be interesting if it was possible at the moment.
Yeah, over a 3D model itself that you place the image. Yeah, you have to wrap it somehow. Yeah. Well, something to look at, right? Be back. So yeah.
Sounds like quite a challenge, but
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah. No. Okay.
How readily available is it for students to gain access to creating images like that? So if they are at the end of their final year or final project that they want to display and show off what all they've created in the past year or two, and display it as part of their maybe thesis or something like that, and showcase it someplace, is that possible for them to do at all? Or is this only really available for instructors?
No, I think for graduate students, we always do something extra. So if they need it, we're there. That's our motto in that sense for graduation projects. Okay, we cannot do it for every project because then we will be busy like 24/7. But for graduation projects, if they need it, also as maybe a specific topic to use or explain something because of the thesis, then yeah, we will help. Okay, they cannot lend it because it's too expensive, and you have to know how to set it up safely. So we will have to be there, especially with the Titan camera. It's really expensive and heavy as well. So you have to place it well on the stand where it's locked on. So yeah, if it falls over, yeah, that's
Yeah.
those repairs are really expensive.
Have you had many student projects come through yet, or has it only been from the checker side so far?
We have from industrial design. We had also like a hospital experience, and it was from the point of view of the patient in bed. So the camera was actually the head. So we placed it literally in bed, and then you had the viewing point, and then the nurse will come by, and then the whole program would start. And it was about UI design surrounding hospital environments, so that you have as a patient more information what's happening. So if you call a nurse, you would have a display in front of you, and it would say, okay, you have contacted the nurse, she have read your message, she is coming in a few minutes. That has to be, it was because of using specific medication, that you are a little bit drowsy and you don't have good experience of the time around you. Then this will help, these kind of indicators. That's why he used this in his graduation thesis project. Yeah. So that was one. I think he was the only one. Yeah. So hopefully maybe more eventually. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see where it might be beneficial even in the next maybe year, as if there are like some members of a committee who aren't available to come to campus, or during some parts of travel restrictions or whatever. So I was just kind of curious.
Yeah, okay. we do see, especially from teachers, that there is a lot of interest in this area, but also other VR applications for simulating lab stuff because of the whole COVID situation. Yeah.
And 360 cameras can be expensive as you want them to make, right? We have the professional equipment, so the cameras we have are very expensive, but you do get very cheap, small 360 cameras for an affordable price for students as well.
Yeah.
What would be a number there?
I will search for you, Eddie. Wait.
I think 500 or so.
500?
I'm not sure. Let's see. Yeah, the Insta360 ONE X2, it's like a hand thing. It's like $429 in this on this webpage. Yeah.
I have the Insta360 Go Action camera for 213 euro.
Okay.
Cool blue.
Okay.
Michelle's the winner.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, but it's very poor quality, by the way. Yeah, I'm going for a little bit more.
Can I ask a question on the virtual reality thing?
Yeah.
I love this nursing environments that you made. Really nice with the quizzes, and so. Yeah. What are the reactions from the students? To what extent do they experience these videos as meaningful learning, as opposed to actually being there and being?
Well, that's still going on, actually. We had a small conversation from, they liked it, but in detail, they didn't give us a lot of data back yet. But the program is running right about now, and we still want to come together with the group that we work with Erasmus. So yeah, we want to know that as well, because that would be quite interesting. Did it help, actually? It was actually the team from Diederik Gommers who used this because of COVID. That were specific things that were related with the COVID illness, that delirium or something else with the airways. Yeah.
But yes, to add to Arno, indeed, the research is being done as we speak by the Center of Education and Learning.
Yeah. Oh, ALS. Yeah.
So actually, they are researching the impact, the effect, the usefulness of the content that is being provided in 360. But the results are not there yet. So once they are there, we will probably get to hear them. And well, it's to the Center of Education and Learning to share them, but we can let you know when the results are there.
Yeah, I can imagine that you could also use VR as, or these types of environments as kind of a practice setting, so that they, for example, these techniques, you learn about them, and then once you actually come to like the practical exam, you've already dealt with the theory, you know, online at home, so you can make the practicals more efficient, really. You can take part of a practical course and put it into like the online learning environment. Yeah, it would be really nice. I can imagine, I teach oral presentation, so I can imagine that we would have like this online learning environment with the VR glasses. I think we did some experiments with that a few years ago, where you can actually see an audience in front of you. So people, especially were working online and people talking to their screens all the time. But if you would have like a VR glass and would have the idea that you're presenting in a big lecture hall, that would make it more real for the students, because I now see, you know, it's really hard to be enthusiastic when you're talking to your screen instead of like having an actual audience, and VR could kind of bridge a little bit of that gap.
Yeah. They do have an application at the Erasmus University in Rotterdam at the law faculty that students have to talk in a courtroom or present in a courtroom in front of a virtual judge, or so they have to practice their defense or speech or in virtual reality. So these tools are already out there, and there are a few members of the HoloLearn team in this company online. Nathan, for example, who is working on a virtual classroom where you can actually be present as a student, as a teacher, as a 3D model, and you can see each other. And so yes, these experimentations are being done.
One question about VR glasses. If you're self-glass wearing, I'm wearing glasses, for instance, how does that work when you put on a goggle?
Yeah, if there is enough room in the goggles, you can, in most cases, you can place it over your glasses. So normally what we would do is first put the glasses on and then the strap over the head. But depends per glasses if there is enough room. I think the Quest is fine, the Oculus Quest 2. The 5 is fine. We use it actually quite a lot also for in research. And then we have all different kinds of glasses that, yeah, if you...
But you can't take your own glasses off and use some correction or what?
Yeah, depends a little bit what is with the eyes itself. If you have a Prisma, then it's maybe more of a problem. Then you need your own glasses in there. But if you just farsighted, I think you're fine without glasses. But there's something that we can experiment with in that sense. But most time people just leave their glasses on, just put it in there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If you want to experiment, sometime you are welcome to come to the lab just to see how that works. Maybe it's interesting to do as well. So yeah. Yeah.
I was just wondering.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're getting closer to the end, and I just want to announce for next week, there's an open discussion on setting up your course in Brightspace. We will have an LTO officer here that usually supports the help desk basically for people with questions for getting set up. And they also run the websites for different support for the Brightspace. So we'll have someone for that. And we'll also have a blended learning advisor. So it'll be Klaas and it'll be Michael, and they'll be talking and answering questions that come up. So if you have questions on getting something set up specifically in Brightspace, that'll be next week. And then the next week after that, it is going to be an open discussion on engaging and connecting learners and motivating them. And then on the 30th, we will have Stefan. And we should be publishing out that hopefully by tomorrow, so you'll have more information. But it will be hopefully over the Stack overview. So again, you'll see an invite for the 23rd and 30th coming up here soon in the calendar invites. I'm going to go ahead and end the recording. So for those of you watching, thanks for being here with us.